So allowing can be easily misconstrued. Sometimes there's a sort of an image of people practicing mindfulness that somehow they're passive, or that you kind of, if you're sitting meditating all the time, you're not actually doing anything to alleviate the suffering of the world, or that you're maybe, not getting involved in conflicts or confrontations. Or it might mean that you kind of don't have plans, isn't it all about living in the moment? So a sense of kind of not really caring about what's going to happen next, loss of structure or steering, deliberate activity to affect the future. And these are all misconstructs. Actually, I think it's helpful to ask ourselves, when we practice allowing in mindfulness practice, what is it that we are allowing? And I believe there's quite a simple answer to this, that we're allowing the present moment as it is. So actually, all we are engaging with here is coming into alignment with reality as it's presenting to us. Because you can't change the present moment. It's already happened or happening. It's already come to fruition by appearing as us, in us, around us. It's here. So it's too late to change what's already here. So that's what we're allowing. So in fact, it's kind of no, there's nothing else that we can do, because you can't change what's already here. If you're currently experiencing a pain, it's here. If you're currently having a difficult thought, it's here. If you're currently sick, it's here. That doesn't mean that we can't act skillfully to affect what might happen later by how we meet this now, how we meet the present moment. But if we don't allow the present moment to be what it is, then actually all that we create is struggle. Because rather than relating skillfully to what's happening and leading into what might be appropriate action, we just end up saying, no, 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 I don't want this. This isn't good, shouldn't be happening. I need to make it better now. I've done quite a lot of that. You probably recognize from the tone of my voice. It's one of the reasons particularly why mindfulness could be helpful when people experience low mood, because low mood it may be a kind of a coming together of past causes and conditions in the present moment, but once it's here, you can't actually change it in this moment. You can only affect what might happen next by how you meet it. So, and if we're going to meet the present moment skillfully, the first thing we have to do, I would suggest, you can try this out for yourself, is allow it, accept it. And that's the switch from saying, no, I don't want this, this can't be happening, not again, to, yep, oh yeah, here we are, yep, it's this, pain's here, no, lost £1,000 again, whatever it is, whatever's befallen us. And of course, I'm talking here about the unpleasant stuff, because we don't find it quite so difficult to allow the pleasant stuff, although sometimes we can get very graspy with it. We don't allow it to pass as it inevitably will. We allow it while it's here, and then as soon as it starts to go away, we kind of chase after it or try to grasp where it was. So actually there can be allowing pleasures sometimes actually can be more tricky than it sounds, but certainly it's the difficult stuff which tends to get us into more trouble. And yeah, fine if you want to use acceptance. I see somebody's mentioned that in the chat. Accept, allow. There's got to, when we're working with words here, different words resonate with different people. Words are only ever kind of projections onto an experience, so that language can only ever get us quite so far. What I like about accept, by the way, is that it has the quality of turning towards, because the means to move towards, and sept comes from the same kind of root as for to hold. So when we're accepting, we are moving towards and holding. So maybe for me, accept has a slightly more sense of moving towards, which might be our sort of next step when we've allowed. But for me, and I say I'm only talking for myself because different words resonate in different ways. For me, allowing is kind of a first step. I can allow something without accepting it. I can say yes, and yet sort of somehow accepting is another stage. That's moving towards and kind of almost embracing. Not quite embracing. Embracing is a further step still. But please, use the words that resonate with the experiences most for you. We're only ever somewhat, playing with shadows when we speak in words. But hopefully we all can kind of resonate with the experiences. So by allowing, accepting, we are letting go of trying to control what can't be controlled. Right now I'm waiting for someone to call me back with some information that I really want, and it's very easy for me to sort of start, wanting to call them up and say, "Come on, do it faster. Come on, I want it now because it's unpleasant this waiting. I want to have the information." And so it's quite a challenge to say, okay, well, look, actually, this isn't helping me. It's kind of like I'm starting to ruminate and obsess about it. What can I do? So this is the question of how do we allow? What does it actually mean? So in mindfulness practice, a way that we allow is actually to drop down from the head and into the body. That could be by anchoring to our breath. It could be opening to body sensations in a more wider sense. It could be just reminding ourselves to allow, kind of just using a mantra, if you like, allow, or accept. And it's also a practice because we do go back. It's very much our tendency and our evolved habit. It's right in our physiology. In fact, it's right in the brain. You go right down to the brain stem, which we share with reptiles, and even on a very more basic level, kind of plants, they open to the sun, and like an amoeba, amoeba's an animal, isn't it? Not a plant. Anyway, amoeba opens when there's possibility of food, and it closes when there's a possibility of a threat. So we've got this, and we share this kind of brainstem right back in our evolutionary history, right, developed earlier than even the limbic system and the prefrontal cortex. Just this very basic mechanism of open, close, allow, refuse. And so to, in some way, undo that is no small feat. Yeah. So we can train ourselves, but to know that we will get caught in these patterns. And sometimes, of course, they're really helpful. It's kind of like if you're the analogy I often use, if you've got a bus coming towards you, you don't want to allow it. Yeah, fine, come and get me. Boom, you run over. That's the end of you. So the aversion, hopefully very quickly takes us out of the way of the bus, or any other threatening situation. But we're talking here about the situations where it's not a bus, say it's low mood or it's pain, or it's a situation that actually we can't step out of the way of. And here's where allowing starts to become more kind of comes into its own as an approach. So because doing this just ends up, we're still in the present moment, only we've tightened up. And maybe we're even tightening up our tightening up. kind of like double. So with this, if we can acknowledge, oh yeah, tight fist, and even allow tight fist, you know, it's like, oh yeah, I'm really tense right now. I got quite tense earlier on, like nose was pressury and teeth clenched, you know, lots of thoughts going around. And if I say, well, I've got to change that, hey, I'm a mindfulness teacher, I just shouldn't be happening to me, you know, then I'm in resistance. So it's actually just saying, oh yeah, yeah, being human. Yeah, it's all right. I mean, impatience is here. Impatience and some bit of fear, bit of annoyance. Oh yeah, hello, old friends. Welcome. I can allow you. I don't like you. That's okay. I don't like you, but I'm going to allow you. So that's another thing about allowing is you don't have to like it to allow it. So it's all right that we don't want the things that we don't want. It's just our question of how we meet it. Are we going to attach to our resistance, or can we see it just as a pattern like the amoeba of just closing and opening? And then as we work with it, Vijay sometimes uses this example, kind of if you've got a tight fist and you breathe it, try this. You just lift your fist up, yeah, into a really tight band, yeah. So this is kind of resistance. And now see about breathing into the fist. So as you breathe, breathing into the fist and out from the fist. Notice, does anything happen? You don't have to say anything because I know I'm recording, but you might want to put it in the chat. What do you notice happening? Is there anything happening? And I'm not going to wait for the answers this time, so I'm going to just say that a lot of people find, maybe not everyone, a lot of people find that there's a sort of a beginning of a softening can happen, sort of when we breathe in to the fist. So it's not necessarily that it becomes open, but just a little bit of opening, a little bit of softening. Yeah, so it gets harder to keep clenched. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so it's actually, you have to put quite a lot of work in when you're breathing with it to keep it going. And of course, when we drop into the body, into the breath, we're actually also just dropping our attention away from the ruminative part of us up here, or at least where it seems to be often, at least it does for me, you know, where it's just going round and round. We just drop down and just chance for that to slow down as well. So our allowing actually turns out to be a skillful way of unhooking from the tightness, from the resistance, from the whatever it is that we don't like. Doesn't necessarily make whatever we don't like go away. That's another myth about allowing. So, well, if I just allow it, it'll go, won't it? But that's not allowing. Yeah, that's actually resistance because it's conditional, and allowing has to be unconditional. If you say, I'll practice meditation if you make me better, that's conditional. So we have to practice meditation with no expectation of any result, and trust that if result that, you know, many people have found results. So maybe that could happen to us, but no guarantee. And as soon as we make it a goal, we've started to tighten the fist again. So remembering that the first step of allowing, of rain practice rather, is recognizing. So before we get to allowing, we're saying, oh, look what's here. How interesting. It's whatever it is. It's anger, it's pain. And then we move into the second step of allowing, accepting if you prefer, another phrase if you prefer. But the quality is what's important, the quality of the experience of open hand, open heart, moving from this to, well, recognizing, oh, to the intention to make this maneuver to whatever it is. Yeah. So yeah, to be really clear, this does not mean that once we've accepted the present moment, that we won't take skillful action. In fact, how could we take skillful action if we're not fully in touch with the present moment? And meditation only looks sometimes passive from the outside because what we're practicing is staying in that gap. staying in that place of non-reactivity so that we are embodying it, and can perhaps maybe we'll embody it when a stressor comes more. So it's, because just like any other skill, it takes practice. So we're in the practice of practicing allowing, or recognizing, whatever aspect of the practice we're emphasizing, so that we can meet our moments skillfully in everyday life. The meditation is not just an end in itself. But again, take care not to make it into, there being another end outside. It comes from allowing, moment by moment by moment. Okay, so let's train together.